W5. And now, for something completely different.
Now that's funny.
The man who brought us silly walks, dead parrots, and unforgettable characters. Kevin Newman.
This is starting beautifully.
And an exclusive interview with comedy legend John Cleese.
So is there hope?
The world's always been a mess.
In self-imposed exile on an island paradise.
I was getting very disappointed about England.
Still at the peak of his game.
John Cleese.
And spreading his wisdom on life and laughter.
All I'm trying to do is make people think a little bit more. And I'm not even sure there's much point in that.
And a brutal murder leads to a sudden arrest.
They put the cuffs on me, then that was that.
That leaves friends and families reeling.
The man that I know is not a murderer.
Did the justice system convict an innocent man?
How can you accuse me of something like this?
Avery Haynes investigates a murder case with unanswered questions.
Brian Anderson didn't have a lawyer when he was being interrogated by the police.
A problematic trial.
That's a recipe for a wrongful conviction right there.
Suspicions of bias and racism.
It is an unforgiving system that's dangerous.
And one man's fight for the truth.
I want to live to see freedom.
Here is Kevin Newman.
Hello, and thanks for joining us as we celebrate a comedy icon. Believe it or not, it's been 50 years since John Cleese and his Monty Python Merrymen changed what many of us consider to be funny. His home country of Britain could certainly use more of that these days with all that's going on with Brexit. But 6 months ago, Cleese deserted England in a very public way, and he hasn't been interviewed in the place he landed. Until now. It is not convenient to get to the West Indies island of Nevis. And that's exactly how the people who live here like it. The landscape under its dominant and mostly dormant volcano is dry most of the year. The one main town of Charlestown isn't overrun with tourists. It's a remnant of a time when Nevis was the British Empire's main source of sugar. Today, though, it's a hideaway for the world's rich and famous, a paradise port of call for super yachts and those with the money to shut out the rest of the world in high style. It is also, occasionally, where royalty hangs out. Hello. Welcome to Nevis, Your Royal Highnesses.
You all escaped from school. You're not trying to teach this lot, right?
No. This is John Cleese's new home.
Is he?
It's John Cleese's new home.
Is he here?
Yes, he is. Hello. In the months since quitting Britain, John Cleese has called this rented villa at the Four Seasons home. He hasn't welcomed a reporter here yet, so we showed up precisely at the time his agent arranged for us.
Good morning. Here it is. Well, thanks very much for coming along. Really appreciate it. I tell you what it is. There's a bit of a tear just here, you see. Now,
No,
you think
no.
You can fix that?
No, I think you understand. I'm with CTV.
CTV.
CTV, yes.
Oh, CTV.
CTV.
So you don't repair?
No, I wouldn't know how to do that. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, come on in. Come on in. So did you come from Charlestown?
No, sir, we're from Toronto.
Well,
Yeah. CTV?
Caribbean television?
No, Canadian television.
Oh, you're Canadian?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I love Canadian.
Oh, this is
nice.
starting beautifully. Nice, so we're here for the interview?
I love Canadians. Good, come on in. The what?
The interview. The interview that we set up, I hope?
I don't remember that. I don't have this in my diary.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. It's only Canada. Come on.
What I'd like to know is, how did John Cleese end up in paradise?
I always think things happen. You do things for many different reasons. They all sort of come together. And I was getting very, very disappointed about England.
Was Brexit a breaking point for you?
No, it was an accumulation of disappointments and the fact that I used to be inordinately proud of being English or British, and I'm not anymore because I think we don't run things at all well. I mean, you know, London was the #1 banking centre in the world for laundering dirty Russian money. I'm not proud of that.
But you could have sort of come to Nevis and just quietly continue to work in North America. Why did you choose to make a thing about it?
What is the point of being in England, which is very badly run at a time when everyone's bad-tempered? I mean, the standard of debate over Brexit was scandalously low. I mean, you get a better debate among 14-year-olds having a sort of trial debate. You see what I mean? There we are.
Mr. Speaker.
He may be in creative exile half a world away, but Cleese remains a news junkie, tweeting regularly about politics from a progressive perspective.
You see, the weird thing is, I think I'm in favor of a no-deal Brexit. You can't say so because you get stoned, you know. But the arguments I've heard for a hard Brexit I find really quite convincing. But I haven't heard them in the media.
Over 5 weeks later.
Serious words at a critical time for his country. But as always, Cleese looks for ways to make something silly from it.
I'm greatly in favour of, and dare I say, there is more joy in heaven over one sinner who repented than the 99 who are not in need of repentance.
A 415-year-old precedent from April 1604 has just caused the government a massive headache. I could not agree more.
John Cleese was 6 feet tall when he was 12, and quickly figured he was less of a target when he was funny. Fast forward to the Cambridge years and its famous comedy review. Then being inspired and writing sketches for British comedians like Peter Sellers, Ronnie Corbett, and David Frost.
I look up to them both, but I don't look up to him as much as I look up to him.
Perfecting his comedy and performances with each move until he was asked to assemble a troupe for a short-run comedy series in 1967. Where the Python-esque humor was incubating, but in a different show. So this is 67, not 1948.
Yeah, the joke was the 1948 show meant that the executives had taken 19 years to make their mind up. That was the joke.
Yeah, but I get this. I don't know. Shh. I'm sorry, what were you saying? Well,
try to relax.
I'm trying to.
But you can begin to see the Monty Python sensibility in this show very much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You're carrying absurdist humor a little bit farther than you had before at this point.
Yes, that's right. And as you get later in the series, there's some stuff in the last show, I swear, if you put it into Monty Python, you wouldn't notice the difference at all.
So will you please tell me, once and for all, in God's name, what's the matter with you?
I think I'm a rabbit.
You say you're a rabbit once more and I'll smash your face in. Now, what are you?
I'm a dog.
Right, that's better. Here's a bone. We'll take it from there next week.
2 years later, uniting with other men from Cambridge and Oxford, the series that would change his life forever.
Monty Python's Flying Circus. Hello, I wish to register a complaint.
Oh, yes, the Norwegian Blue. What's wrong with it?
I'll tell you what's wrong with it. It's dead. That's what's wrong with it.
This did not begin as a skit about parrots, right?
You're right. We were writing a sketch about a second-hand car salesman who was based on Michael Palin's actual car salesman with the car.
And he refused to accept that it was...
He just couldn't. He was slippery.
Polly Parrot, wake up! Polly! Now that's what I call a dead parrot.
No, it's stunned.
And then we had long time. He said, well, mice is too small. You know what I mean? And cats and dogs, people like them too much. And then we had this marvelous idea of a parrot, because nobody likes parrots. You know, not even people who own parrots like them. They're sort of stupid, aggressive, noisy things.
Better off dead.
We made it a parrot because nobody would mind a dead parrot.
It's a stiff, bereft of knife, it rests in peace. If you hadn't nailed it to the perch, it would be pushing up the daisies. It's run down the curtain and joined the crowd invisible. This is an ex-parrot.
I looked at the original TV guide in London for Monty Python's first episode, and it was called Whither Canada.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Why?
Because Tony J, my friend Tony J, once said it was the name of the most boring documentary you could imagine.
Because the episode had nothing to do with Canada.
Canada at all, no.
It has been 50 years since Monty Python debuted laugh-out-loud characters and situations.
Thank God.
Yeah. And none has endured longer than Cleese's Ministry of Silly Walks. They still mimic it on campuses and in contests around the world. It was a signature move Cleese reprised in his series Fawlty Towers, in a hilarious episode where he tries to avoid mentioning World War II to some visiting German guests.
Here, watch. Who's this then? Stuff you, but I'll do that for any more.
I'd always been able to do that big kick up there.
Yeah, it's like you're a dancer.
Yeah. But I don't have a very good sense of rhythm, but I used to be reasonably flexible in those days.
You have absolutely no sense of humour, do you? This is not funny! Who won the bloody war anyway?
Well, then as a Canadian kid seeing the Lumberjack song and sketch, I mean, it's almost like a national anthem. I think there's most Canadians, you know, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Yeah.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night, I work all day.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
Do you still remember the rest of it, or did you ever sing it at the time?
I didn't. I sang it. We always used to sing it on the stage show. In fact, I have actually sung with George Harrison. I know. We were doing the show, and George, who was a friend particularly of Michael and Eric's, said, gonna come off on stage and sing the song. And we got him the Mountie outfit. And the thing about George is he came up and sang it so perfectly that nobody noticed it was George Harrison.
Really?
Beatle on stage with us, yeah.
That's an amazing story.
It's a wonderful story.
I can't stop dreaming when high heels, suspenders and a bra. Oh, shut me and leave me just like my dear mama.
So you're touring Canada in a show called Why There Is No Hope.
Yes.
I think a lot of people fear that right now.
There's some things we can change and some things you can't. I can't change anything in England at the moment, so I don't waste time on that. You see what I mean?
So is there hope?
Well,
and where does hope lie?
Well, the world's always been a mess. The people in charge are basically always assholes, with very few exceptions, you know? And they're there for the money and the power. And you're just like all these people who've been dictators of countries for 30 years. I mean, Trump would want to be dictator for 30 years, you know what I mean? If he loses the next election, it will, of course, be because of fraud or something like that, because he never loses anything in his own mind.
One of the questions I have is somebody who has, early in your life, lived in a British culture that was quite repressive, enjoyed it when that sort of was destroyed and challenged through satire and various other things. Do you see a repressive age coming back at this point in your life?
Well, the point about democracy is that it always defeats a dictatorship in the long run, not in the short run, because in the short run, dictators are very efficient. You see what I mean? They get things done.
So you think it's resilient enough to get through this period?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, because if people cling to their identity the way they're clinging at the moment, I don't see how you change it. All I'm trying to do is to make people think a little bit more, and I'm not even sure there's much point in that.
So Cleese is clearly pessimistic about the world away from his island retreat.
That's the poisonous one.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
That's the one you have 4 minutes to get to hospital if you eat it.
But as he has always done, he continues to look for humor in prickly places.
Well, you tell me. Ah!
So everyone at least shares a
That
laugh.
was a booby trap. You led me into that. Yes, you did. And you thought...
An ageless comedian.
Well, I'm very old and very, very lazy.
And a lifelong performance.
Don't put the camera on me. Put it on that. That's interesting.
When W5 continues.
I'm going to climb inside.
John Cleese may have decided he's had enough of living in Britain right now.
Don't put the camera on me. Put it on that. That's interesting. Look at that.
But he's chosen luxurious exile on an island with a long connection to his homeland, even though an Italian discovered it.
When Christopher Columbus was sailing and spotted St. Nevis for the first time, he thought that was snow. So Nevis is based on the Spanish word for snow, and I don't know what it is, but yes, sorry. Military intelligence.
Nevis is also quiet, peaceful. Easy to see why England's greatest comedy expat has chosen exile here.
Incredible. It was accurate, too.
Well, Cleese is still relatively new to Nevis, so when we found T.C. Claxton giving island tours, we put the two lively British expats together in the front seat to trade stories.
Now, I want to know why you've chosen Paradise to come and live. What area do you want to live in?
Well, I'm very old and very, very lazy. So I think I'm going to live on the Four Seasons estate and get a villa there because everything gets taken care of.
And is everybody kind of invisible? Like, nobody cares about where you come from?
They don't care who you are, what you are, how much money you've got, what you look like, what colour your hair is. They'd have no
Well, when you've been
interest.
famous for 50 years, that's got to be attractive.
But love, trust me, they don't get it.
She hasn't been famous for 50
They don't
years. You've
get
been
it,
famous
love.
for 28 years.
They don't,
Get facts.
they don't get it, love. Nobody gives a hoot. You would never get anybody here asking for an autograph. They wouldn't know what an autograph is.
No, I thought you were Karen. Oh, no, I have them old. I get muzzled for it.
So to prove it, TC takes John Cleese to one of the island's hidden gems, a locally run restaurant for a late afternoon icebreaker.
So what are you going to give me to drink that I've never had before? Passion fruit rum. I'll have another one.
Well, after passing on the second potent rum punch, TC takes Cleese past the luxury retreat where Princess Diana found exile after the breakup of her marriage to Prince Charles.
It's a plantation inn. It has between 13 and 19 rooms.
So this is where she brought the boys after
This is
the
where she brought
break
the
of the
boys, and
marriage.
You could stay here, you can come for dinner here.
It's pretty swanky.
Yes, yes, yes. So what do you write about?
Well, right at the moment, have you ever heard of an incredibly funny and brilliant film called Life of Brian?
Life of Ryan.
Life of Brian. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
No, I haven't. Hey, love it. Hey, listen, you'll get it. When you've lived here 28 years like me and there's no flipping movie theatre, how are you supposed to see movies?
Because
and TV's only just come out.
We made it in 1978.
I was blind, and now I can see.
Life of Brian is Cleese's favorite Monty Python movie because it has the most to say. It's about a false god and those who unthinkingly follow them.
Hail, Messiah!
the Messiah? I say you are, Lord, and I should know. I followed a few. Hail Messiah!
I looked at your history, and so much of your comedy is sort of to try to prick fundamentalism, whether it's religious fundamentalism, political.
Yes. Little reminded people are rather stupid people, you see? So if rather stupid people see Christ teaching, for example, and take literally what Christ was talking about metaphorically, that's where the problem starts.
But your thinking it seems to be more metaphysical now. I mean, you're thinking a lot about afterlife.
Well, I've always been, but the trouble is I grew up in a society where these things there was no good information about.
Well, there was in the Bible, and you studied the Bible, and you know Scripture.
Well, I know a little bit about Scripture, yes, and I think the sad thing about Scripture is that Christianity has so little to do with what Christ taught. In other words, I'm 100% in favor of Christ. In fact, he's quite a good friend of mine, actually. I'm 100%, but not 100% in favor of organized religion, because if you look at the Beatitudes, it's all about trying to reduce the power of the ego.
Well, you write in your book, John Cleese, Professor at Large.
What was the name of the book again?
There it is. I'm beginning more and more to think that there's something, I don't know what it is, what Carl Jung called synchronicity. And I'm just convinced the older I get that this is the kind of something of significance.
The thing is, I really don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't think there's any chance that we'll ever have a rational planet. But I don't think it matters because we can't control it. What we can control is our own lives and try and be kind to a few people around us. And if we do that, we can have lots of fun, and then when we die, we may find that there's something else going on afterwards, which is a bit more interesting than what's going on here. Oh, that's clever.
John Cleese.
And so even in his 80s, Cleese is intellectually restless. It's what's driven him to make movies in his post-Python years, his only romantic comedy, A Fish Called Wanda.
Do you speak Italian?
I am Italian. Sono italiano in spirito. Ma ho sposato una donna che preferisce lavorare nel giardino a far l'amore.
A cameo as James Bond's tech guru.
You know, you're cleverer than you look.
Still better than looking cleverer than you are. Follow me, please.
And author of several books, including the story of his early life, with a supportive father, but difficult mother.
You also wrote that your mother was restless. Do you think you got that from her?
Oh, that's interesting. I think if you have a mum who is really always anxious and upset, then that kind of unsettled energy is going to transfer itself to a child. How could it not?
Because you never feel truly safe.
I think that's right. Yes, you don't have that moment of calmness. And I of course, a lot of the most accomplished people in world history have had the experience of maternal deprivation. And so I think that's often, it's very productive in terms of producing productive people, but not necessarily very happy ones.
And so Cleese has returned to what makes him happiest, writing. From his favorite desk overlooking his corner of paradise, he's adapting Life of Brian for the stage, completing a book on creativity, and finishing his Canadian stage show. With always sharpened pencils and blank pages to fill with ideas, he keeps observing, using humor to make his point, and perhaps even becoming happier.
So are you going to stay in Nevis?
I don't know. I live in hotel rooms and I love this place, but there's all sorts of things.
Well, I've heard that if you buy property here in Nevis for $300,000, you can pretty much get citizenship. I don't know if that seems right, but if Canada gave you a similar offer for $300,000, would you come be among us?
Oh, yeah. I would like, and I've said this before, I've dropped hints in case Trudeau sort of happens to hear, I would like to become a Canadian citizen. It's a country
Are you
I
serious?
have genuine respect for. I have very little respect for England and none at all for Trumpian America. And I would like to be a citizen of Canada, but I don't want to live there much of the time because it's so f***ing cold. I don't know how you manage it. So this is what I love, you see. Do you
comes with a
think
passport.
Trudeau might give me? Do you think he might give me citizenship?
I think the fact that you've now asked on television means it'll never happen. Well, Cleese begins his Canadian tour May 5th in Halifax. And Life of Brian has just been re-released in theaters worldwide to celebrate its 40th anniversary.